This is the Transformers Generations Legacy Leader Class Galvatron. Here's the new closed up packaging, no windows. I did, however, open up this packaging just as I was about to pay for it at the cashier, just to check if they got everything in. So, you know, I'd advise you guys to do that before you leave the store. Just check that everything's there. So far, so good. All the pieces were there. And this figure is retail, okay? It's not a hobby shop. It's at Toy Kingdom. I picked this figure up at Toy Kingdom, and the new prices are for leader class, a whopping $84. Yep, 4,200 pesos translates to about $84. It is ridiculous, man. On Amazon, this is just what, 50 bucks? And the prices here in Asia and here in Manila in particular are just incredibly ridiculous and outrageous. I don't know how you can keep collecting here, okay? But, you know, I picked this one up because there was a 10% discount, and, you know, I needed this figure. I didn't want to wait for it to go on clearance or anything. They had one last piece left, so okay, fine. But ridiculous prices. This appears to be a straight up redeco of the Kingdom Galvatron with minor paint just minor paint differences. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they changed the plastic color by a little bit, which I'll show off in a little while when we do comparison. So let's get this figure out of packaging. And here is Legacy Galvatron out of packaging together with Kingdom Galvatron. So everything here is Kingdom. This one is the new Legacy figure. Let's take a look at the accessories. Let's begin with the, what is this? The necklace with the Matrix of Leadership. At first glance, they appear to be identical, but the gray on this new Legacy figure is about a notch lighter than this one. You can see right here, this one's a little bit darker, just by a little bit. You won't notice it at first glance, but if you look at it closely, this one's just a smidge lighter in gray. And the paint apps that they used, this one's a little bit shinier, a little bit lighter on the orange, and a little bit lighter on the blue. I don't know, it's a very subtle difference, but I'm glad there's a little bit of difference. Okay, so let's put those off to the side. As far as the Unicron spaceship guns, again, at first glance, they do appear to be identical. But this one, the new Legacy, the plastic they used for the Legacy figure appears to be a smidge darker. Just a little bit. Very subtle difference. See, look at this one, light gray. This one's a little bit darker in gray. Just a little bit. Hardly noticeable. Okay, on to the main cannon. Let's start with the, I guess the main, the handle, I should say, or the connecting port. It does appear to be a lot glossier and a lot metallic in paint. I don't know if you can see it, but you can see the shine is quite brilliant. A little bit more shinier with a little bit more flake on this piece than this one. This one's a little bit more dull, not as polished as this one. Black paint, same. See, it's a little bit more shinier in terms of paint apps. As far as the transparent or translucent plastic, it could just be me, but I think they used a slightly darker amber plastic on the Legacy figure. You can see it right here. This one's a little bit lighter, this one's a little bit darker, and I don't think it's the light, because I've got all my lights bright, shining so brightly on the setup, but this one just seems to be a tad darker, but a little bit. See right there in the center stem, a little bit. And obviously it no longer has the heat marks or the paint that shows off the, I guess, when he blasts and there's overheating. It doesn't have that, which I do prefer. On to the actual figures themselves. Let's start with the overall purple plastic. And again, very, very subtle. I'm not sure if it's because of the lack of the blast effect paints, the battle damage paint apps, but I can really see a very subtle difference in the purple. The purple plastic they used for the legacy version is, again, just a smidge lighter than this one. You can see it on the arms. Very, very subtle. The same is true for the gray bits. And I don't know if the camera is picking it up properly, but the gray plastic they used for the legs is a little darker on the legacy version than the Kingdom version. And when it comes to the gray plastic that they used on the thighs, the legacy version has again, very, very slight difference in lightness of gray plastic. It's a little bit lighter on this one, both for the flaps and the thighs. The paint apps that they used for that Decepticon symbol, you can see on the legacy version that the Decepticon symbol is done in a very bright pink. And this one is a very muted pink. So that's interesting. I like that. I actually like this one better. And again, you can see the neck done in a lighter shade of plastic. It's not just the light. I put light both on their necks. This one really has a slightly darker gray plastic than this one. The red paint that they used on the abdomen, this one's just a little bit brighter than this one. As far as the red paint on the knees, the same is true. This one's a little bit brighter. And again, like just a notch or a smidge brighter in color. So I do appreciate that they've done some subtle differences to make this one not entirely the same figure. It's the same mold, definitely, but new colors of plastic, new paint apps, and I like that. So I don't know, it kind of justifies purchasing him, or kind of makes me feel good about the purchase by a little bit. But essentially, it is the same figure, done in, I should say, maybe to a certain extent, a little bit more premium, and without the battle damage, the battle effects. At this point in time, I'd like to proceed with my final thoughts on the figure. I'm not going to transform it anymore because this is the 4th version of this mold, and if you want to see the transformation, I will put a link in the description box below for my Kingdom Galvatron review. It's the exact same transformation, and the differences will be the same. Subtle differences in terms of paint and color of the plastic will be just exactly the same in alt mode. If you're wondering about mold degradation, there's none. The joints are super tight. In fact, the way you attach the blaster on his arm is again super tight. Which was one of my complaints with the first releases of the Galvatron figure. It was a little bit loose on both copies that I got. Also, you will notice that the shoulders are now properly assembled. I think Hasbro's trying to make up for that mistake they did with the early releases of the Kingdom Galvatron. So this is interesting. No mold degradation, tighter joints, in fact, and no signs of looseness of joints, and the properly assembled shoulders. Having said all of that, if you already have the Kingdom Galvatron, is there a need to purchase this figure? If you're a hardcore Galvatron fan, you love the character, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't pick it up, because I think this is the better version of the mold, perhaps the best version of the mold. It feels a little bit more on the premium finish side because there's no battle damage, and the colors are a little bit more vibrant, particularly the purples and the amber color of the plastic, the silvers and all that. But then again, if you're just a casual collector and you're happy with the Kingdom Galvatron, and you feel that if you suddenly wake up and you don't need the battle damage paint apps, you can easily get some rubbing compound or some isopropyl alcohol. You can easily rub off those paint apps and it'll be fine. It'll be as though you got a slightly less vibrant colored Legacy Galvatron. So I guess it's a matter of preference, but personally, I would recommend you pick up this Galvatron, even if it means double dipping into the mold. And Obviously, if you've never had the Galvatron figure, this is the perfect time to pick one up. For the price of $84, I think it is ridiculous. I think you should find a way to get it at a lower price. The Toy Kingdom store I went to had them on 10% discount. So they took off $8 off of the figure. So I felt a little bit better. I didn't have to pay the full $84 price point, but that's a ridiculous price. If you can get it for 70 bucks or 60 bucks here in Asia, I think that's a good price. But I doubt we'll ever get this figure below 60 bucks the way things are going. So the figure is still going to get a 10 out of 10. It still remains to be one of my top favorite figures for 2021. And now in 2022, I think this is a great move by Hasbro, because that Kingdom Galvatron was a little bit difficult to acquire in some parts of the world, in a lot of parts of the world. And this is a great way for them to make up for their previous mistakes on the shoulders and whatnot. So let me know in the comment section what you think of this new Legacy Leader Class Galvatron. Hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of my latest video reviews. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.